having looked at this, I want to just briefly look at Cardinal Fernandez's interview yesterday, where he goes over the German bishops. So he takes the German bishops head on. And I love it because he puts them in their place. And it needed to be said. Cardinal Fernandez, Vatican same-sex blessings guidance is clear answer to German bishops. Fiducia Supplicans is written as a refutation to the German bishops because the German bishops went too far. And Fiducia Supplicans says, no. Look, you can't do all this. You can't bless sin. You can't bless the union. You can't have liturgies. You can't have rituals for all this. None of that. All of those things the Germans are trying to do. Fiducia Supplicans says, no, you can't do that. Here's how far you can go to reach a sinner without compromising the faith. It's a refutation of the German bishops. Amid significant confusion about the Vatican's recent guidance on same-sex blessings, the document's architect has lashed out at those advancing the most liberal interpretation, Catholic leadership in Germany. Now, mind you, not all German bishops are on board with the shenanigans from some of these German bishops. There are some good German bishops out there who are not on board with this stuff. When we speak here of German bishops, we're talking about those who are on board with compromising the faith. Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, prefect of the Vatican Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith and longtime theological advisor to Pope Francis, described Fiducia Supplicans as a clear answer to German plans to formalize liturgical blessings for same-sex couples, a move that is explicitly forbidden by the December 18 guidance. He says, it is not the answer that people in 2 or 3 countries would like to have. Right? Think of Flemish bishops here too, right? Fernandez said of Fiducia Supplicans in January 3rd interview with the German Catholic newspaper, Die Tagespost. Don't know how to pronounce that. Rather, it is a pastoral response that everyone could accept, albeit with difficulty. I love what Father Mark Goring said the other day. It's kind of a sentiment I've tried to express, but he expressed it better than I. And he noted how what this document does is it will help facilitate union with the church so that we don't have a schism with Germany. It will help rein them in. You know, here's what we can do and here's what we can't do, German bishops. It'll help rein them in without causing a schism. I sure hope that that's the case. I hope people on the other end of the spectrum don't end up causing a schism. A few of them have already begun that, starting schismatic seminaries and stuff like that. But for the most part, I hope it doesn't turn into something massive. The Vatican's guidance proposes the possibility of spontaneous blessings for same-sex couples and those in irregular relations, but without officially validating their status or changing in any way the Church's perennial teaching on marriage. To avoid confusion, Fiducia Supplicans prohibits the promotion of formalized blessings and the use of any clothing or symbol that could give the impression of a marital blessing. That again also applies to the priests. No stoles. Members of the controversial German Synodal Way, a collaboration between the German Bishops' Conference and a powerful lay lobby, overwhelmingly approved developing formalized ritual text for same-sex blessings at a March 2023 assembly in Frankfurt. Not only that, not only do they vote for formalized ritual texts, but also for the blessing of the union, not the persons, the union. And also they want to argue that homosexuality is not a sin. So all of that is repudiated by Fiducia Supplicans. It's a refutation of the German bishops. It is a sin, according to Fiducia Supplicans. The union cannot be blessed, and there cannot be anything liturgical. Literally everything the Germans were pushing for, they did not get. Since then, several German bishops have green-lighted public blessings of same-sex couples in their dioceses. And following the publication of Fiducia Supplicans, ZDK Vice President Birgit Mock said the church in Germany would not scrap its plans to develop a formal text of same-sex blessings despite the guidance's prohibitions. So you know what? Some of them in Germany are just saying, you know what? We don't care what Fiducia Supplicans says. We're still going to be in disobedience. Well, Fernandez is going to be meeting with them And I'm eager to see how that one's going to work out. Fernandez suggested that some German Catholics may fail to appreciate the perspectives of Catholics in other parts of the world on questions related to sexuality. Listening to some reflections made in the context of the German synodal path, it sometimes seems that a part of the world feels particularly enlightened to understand what the other poor wretches are unable to grasp because they are closed or medieval. And then this enlightened part naively believes that, thanks to it, the whole universal church is reformed and freed from the old schemes, Fernandez told Die Tagespost. I love how he's just making fun of the German bishops here. He said, the German bishops, they think that they're just so enlightened. And we're, those of us who don't say that homosexuality is now okay and you can have gay marriage and all that, we're all just, closed-minded medieval peasants. And he's basically saying these German bishops are fools. To think that they're so enlightened and the rest of us are just so stupid because we hold to the faith of the church. Now, how does this jive with all of those Catholics out there, especially Catholic YouTubers, who think that, the Pope and Fernandez are on board with the gay agenda and they're on board with the German bishops and they're supporting the German bishops? You literally have Fernandez explicitly calling out the German bishops and then making fun of them, mocking them publicly. I find that interesting. Similarly, the DDF head suggested that some German Catholic leaders don't appreciate Pope Francis's effort to maintain church unity. Again, a point that I think Father Mark Goring made. I think that's a point to consider. Some German bishops do not seem to understand that a liberal or enlightened pope could not guarantee this communion among Germans, Africans, Asians, Latin Americans, Russians, and so on. In other words, German bishops, they want a liberal pope. They want a pope who is enlightened and understands that, hey, homosexuality is not a sin. And yeah, we need to get on board with blessing gay unions and stuff like that. That's what some German bishops want. And they want a pope who's on board with that. And Pope Francis has completely rejected that. And what they don't understand is, so you want a pope to be like that. You really think the church is going to remain united? You think that the African, Asians, Latin Americans, or Russians, they're all going to continue to remain in communion with that kind of pope? It's going to cause a massive problem. I don't think that we would ever get this, but what he's saying is, look, take your silly hypothetical scenario where a pope does this. It's going to destroy the church. A valid point. A pastoral pope, on the other hand, is able to do this. And again, just to reiterate, I don't think that the church could be destroyed or that this scenario could happen. And I don't think that he thinks it could happen. He's just taking the Germans on their own basis and he's saying, okay, you think this can happen? You argue this? Well, it's just going to lead to the destruction of the church. A pastoral pope, on the other hand, is able to do this. So not a liberal pope, not a pope who compromises on the faith, but a pastoral pope, on the other hand, is able to keep church unity because he preserves the church teaching while allowing it to enter into dialogue with the concrete, often so wounded lives of the faithful. Again, we can't compromise on the faith, but there are some people out there, they're not ready for a firm purpose of amendment, but they are also not trying to justify their sin. They know it's wrong and they do want to be freed from it. They're in that middle position that St. Augustine expressed in his Confessions. That's a ton of people. And yeah, we can't compromise on the faith. We can't bless your union, but we can go that extra mile to offer you some actual grace through a simple blessing, not a validation, but a simple blessing to offer you grace to be freed from your sins. The blessing will not immediately free them from their sins. Sacramental confession will. However, these actual blessings may help prepare them so that they now can be disposed to go to confession and be fully repentant and now be freed from their bonds of sin, from the bonds of sin. A pastoral pope can accomplish this while striving to maintain church unity. Fernandez also directly challenged the synodal way's basis for trying to radically change church teaching and practice related to sexuality and governance, namely the need to address the systematic causes of the sexual abuse crisis. Some of the German bishops are saying, oh, well, the sex abuse crisis. So we need to now validate same-sex unions. That's the solution. To believe that in one part of the world, the crisis caused by sexual abuse can be solved by decisions that are contrary to the teaching of the universal church is, in my opinion, not even reasonably justified, Fernandez said. I love it. Basically, okay, so Germans, your solution to the sex abuse crisis is to validate sexually disordered acts. Help me make that make sense. Wait, hold on. You want to somehow get over the sex abuse crisis by validating disordered sexual and sinful acts. Huh? I love how tactful he is. He's a lot nicer than I would be to them. Fernandez said, noting that some non-Catholic Christian communities with differing understandings of sexuality and authority are also plagued by problems related to sex abuse. Wow. He went there. He went there. Um wow, I don't know what to say about that one. So he's saying, okay, there are some non-Catholic Christian communities out there. Think some Anglican communions. Not all Anglicans are the same, by the way, but think of some Anglican communions. Some of these non-Christian communities that have differing understandings of sexuality. In other words, that think that homosexuality is okay, are also plagued by problems related to sex abuse. They have sex abuse problems. In other words, simply recognizing somehow that homosexuality is no longer a sin doesn't free you from sex abuse problems, because you have other communions out there that do recognize homosexuality is not a sin, and yet they have sex abuse problems. He went there. The publication of Fiducia Supplicans. And by the way, I don't think he's just thinking of some Anglicans here. I mean, he also could be referring to some Lutherans, some other Protestants, some non-denoms. The publication of Fiducia Supplicans has been marked by widespread confusion and conflicting interpretations, with bishops and countries throughout Africa and Eastern Europe banning the proposed blessings in their jurisdictions, while prelates in countries like Germany have characterized the document as an affirmation of their push for change, which, again, they can't do, honestly. Wednesday's interview was not the first time Fernandez had addressed the impact of Fiducia Supplicans. In a December 23 interview, he told the Pillar that some episcopates' advancement of ritualized blessings of irregular couples is inadmissible, and that they should reformulate the proposal in that regard. The Argentinian also said that he is planning a trip to Germany to have some conversations that I believe are important. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've kind of needed that for a while. He's getting things done. He's only been in office since July, and he's really been getting things done. Yes, please go to Germany, and please put them in their place. And again, they will be brought back to Rome, looks like 3 times this year, to be reminded by multiple dicastery heads on what they can and can't do, what they can and can't teach. In the interview, the Cardinal also discussed the Vatican's ongoing dialogue with the German Bishops' Conference representatives. 2 have occurred already, with the next set to take place in Rome this month. This month. So stay tuned for that. Fernandez reaffirmed the discussion of changes to church teaching on sexuality and male-only holy orders will not be on the table in further meetings. So, the German bishops who are wanting the church to approve of homosexuality and have women's ordination, nope. Pope Francis said, you can't do that. Not on the table. Something already expressed by the German bishops in an October letter from Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin. However, the DDF had suggested that the door remains open to discuss how reformable aspects of the issues involved can be deepened and possibly lead to a pastoral development, similar to fiducia supplicans. So, what are things that we can develop? We can have that discussion. That's legit. But the things that we can't discuss pertain to the deposit of faith. You can't change that. The cardinal also addressed the German bishop, the German church leadership's ongoing preparations to establish a governing synodal council of bishops and laity, which was forbidden by senior Vatican leadership in a January 2023 letter explicitly approved by Pope Francis. The Synodal Committee, laying the groundwork for the Synodal Council, held its first meeting in November 10, though it was boycotted by four German ordinaries, while an additional four were not able to attend. The German Bishops' Conference is set to vote on adopting the committee's statutes at its February plenary session. The condition of continuing dialogue between the Vatican and the DBK, he said, is that we do not continue to make decisions that will only be discussed at further meetings. I thought that was funny. We must remember that time is worth more than space, he said. Pope Francis's 2023 apostolic exhortation notes that, which Fernandez is believed to have ghostwritten. So let's stay calm and think about the bigger picture, he says. And by the way, I just want to remind you, make sure to hit that like button and especially the subscribe button. Help me grow this channel so I can reach more people with the content that you appreciate and enjoy from Reason and Theology. Are you a Catholic thinking about converting to Eastern Orthodoxy? Or are you a Protestant discerning whether or not to become Catholic or Eastern Orthodox? If so, I have the book just for you. It's called Answering Orthodoxy, and engages all of the arguments that Eastern Orthodox use against the Catholic Church. I respond to all of them. I show that they are in error, and in fact, they're inconsistent, because the things that Orthodox are objecting to are in fact found in their own tradition. So the fullness of the faith can only be found in the Catholic Church. Check out the book right now at shop.catholic.com for your copy today.